Dana White, the king of CTE, chronic traumatic encephalopathy, better defined as brain damage, is a neurodegenerative disease often associated with repetitive head trauma, and it poses a significant threat to the long-term health of fighters.
It all worked on being knocked out. When you see somebody, wow, gets knocked out, drops on the floor, their eyes roll in the back of their head, and they don't wake up for 2 minutes, everybody sees it, wow, cheering in the stands, and everybody getting up, and it's a good fight, and they're shaking the guy's hand, and everything's going on. And really the concern that everybody don't see is the damage being done to this individual.
The world of mixed martial arts, MMA, is an arena where warriors clash in a brutal ballet of blood, sweat, and tears. At the heart of this savage spectacle stands one man who has become synonymous with the sport, Dana White.
Or of our generation might be this guy.
I don't give a fuck.
In the last 20 years, Dana White turned a bankrupt company into one of the biggest sports promotion in the world.
Revered by some as a visionary promoter, White's tenure as the president of the Ultimate Fighting Championship has been marked by unprecedented growth and mainstream success.
Everybody's like, wow, that's the greatest investment in the history of mankind. Well, let me tell you the rest of the story.
However, beneath the glitz and glamour lies a darker, more sinister narrative.
He's not a good person. He seems to have lost his character somewhere along the way. Just keep saying it. There's no reason to be that mean and cruel to people all the time.
I actually like chaos.
Yeah, you must.
If I don't have it, I'll create it in my own personal way.
This documentary aims to peel back the layers of White's reign, exposing a legacy intertwined with the devastating reality of chronic traumatic encephalopathy, CTE. A neurodegenerative disease that has become an insidious specter, haunting the fighters who risk it all inside the octagon. Chapter 1: The Rise of a Tyrant. Dana White's ascension to the pinnacle of MMA is a story often celebrated as a rags to riches tale. Born in Manchester, Connecticut, White's early life was a tumultuous mix of street fighting and entrepreneurial hustling. His big break came in 2001 when he convinced childhood friends Lorenzo and Frank Fertitta to purchase the struggling UFC for $2 million.
And at the time, I was on the Nevada State Athletic Commission, so we obviously had some common interests.
If he didn't go to that school, if I didn't work all those hours, he would have never met the Fertittas. It's that sort of chain reaction thing. There would be no UFC.
Under White's brash leadership, the UFC transformed from a niche spectacle into a global phenomenon. Yet, as White basked in the limelight of his success, the seeds of a darker legacy were being sown. The relentless push for increasingly violent and spectacular fights created an environment where fighters were encouraged to push beyond their limits, often at the expense of their long-term health. White's charismatic but ruthless management style began to draw criticism, with accusations that he prioritized profit over the well-being of his fighters. Chapter 2: The Cost of Glory. In the gladiatorial world of MMA, the specter of CTE looms large. CTE is caused by repeated blows to the head, leading to symptoms such as memory loss, confusion, aggression, and suicidal tendencies.
First round, I wrestled some wrestler guy who's good, tough. Get the pressure on him.
Yeah, how you doing? Need to 10 miles morning. Woke up late. I did run 5 miles. Doesn't sound good.
The brutal nature of MMA makes its fighters particularly susceptible to this devastating condition. Despite the growing body of evidence linking MMA to CTE, White has consistently downplayed the risks. Interviews with former fighters paint a grim picture of life after the octagon. Gary Goodridge, a pioneer of the sport, has been vocal about his struggles with dementia and memory loss, symptoms strongly indicative of CTE.
I could get a job, but I'd forget I had the job.
In 2012, doctors diagnosed him with degenerative dementia, a type of CTE.
Goodrich's story is not an isolated case. Many fighters have reported similar issues, revealing a disturbing pattern of neurological damage among veterans of the sport.
I don't want to die alone and not know anybody when I see them. I don't want to go out of this world not knowing people that I love, or not knowing new people. You know, I have daughters that are going to be married one day and have a family of their own, and I want to be mentally around that I can talk to them.
White's response to these concerns has been nothing short of callous. In public statements, he has often dismissed the severity of CTE, suggesting that fighters know the risks when they step into the cage. This cavalier attitude towards a serious health issue underscores a troubling disregard for the very athletes who built the UFC into a billion-dollar empire.
This is a contact sport, and anybody who's ever done this younger, myself included, is dealing with brain issues. It's part of the gig.
You know what my favorite thing on this is Dana goes, we're all dealing with it. I used to fight. You don't count. A few training sessions at Boston Cardio Boxing ain't the same as Spencer Fisher getting concussed in the steel cage of the UFC.
Truly, honestly believe if it wasn't for the pills that I'm taking, my life would have been done.
You would have killed yourself.
Absolutely.
To understand the true horror of CTE, one must journey into the darkness that consumes its victims, experiencing the agony from the inside out.
In football, we just learned about it 10 to 15 years ago. It's a progressive degenerative brain disease. It is like Alzheimer's. It can start with memory loss, mood swings, and difficulty in concentration, developing into progressive dementia. But unlike Alzheimer's, CTE can also result in significant aggression and lack of impulse control. The big difference, symptoms tend to begin much earlier in life, closer to your 40s instead of your 60s. And over 90% of former NFL players have developed CTE.
Imagine waking up each day with a gnawing sense of confusion. Simple tasks, once performed effortlessly, now require immense concentration. Names and faces that should be familiar slip through the fog of your mind, leaving you grasping for clarity that never comes. This is how CTE begins, with subtle yet insidious signs that herald the slow unraveling of your cognitive abilities. In the early stages, you might find yourself forgetting appointments or misplacing everyday items. As CTE tightens its grip, the cognitive decline is accompanied by profound emotional turmoil. Mood swings become a daily ordeal, with bursts of inexplicable rage giving way to crushing depression. You lash out at loved ones, unable to control the anger that boils within. The guilt and regret that follow these outbursts are suffocating, yet the cycle continues. Relentless and unyielding, sleep becomes a distant memory as insomnia takes hold.
Today is a very tired day. I don't think I'm moving too far from my bed. My days suck. Probably given a little bit of depression. My brain forgets. You constantly forget on a daily basis, all the time.
I forget where I'm going, dizzy spells, calling people different names, not knowing their actual name. My kids, I've had instances in the past that I couldn't think of their name on the spot.
Nights are spent wrestling with demons, haunted by nightmares that blur the line between reality and terror. The exhaustion from sleepless nights exacerbates the cognitive decline. Tremors and muscle weakness transform one's fluid actions into clumsy efforts. The frustration of losing control over your own body adds to the mental anguish, a constant reminder of the person you once were and can no longer be. Relationships crumble under the weight of your unpredictable behavior and cognitive decline. Friends and family, unable to comprehend the full extent of your suffering, begin to distance themselves. Isolation becomes your constant companion, deepening the chasm of loneliness and despair. In the advanced stages of CTE, the sense of self is obliterated. You become a shadow of your former self, lost in a haze of confusion and disorientation. Basic functions such as speech and movement become increasingly difficult. The person looking back at you in the mirror is a stranger, a hollow shell where a vibrant individual once thrived. Suicidal thoughts are a common and tragic part of the CTE experience. The unrelenting pain, both physical and emotional, can become too much to bear. Many sufferers see death as the only escape from their torment, a final release from a life of unending misery. The loss of so many promising lives to this disease is a testament to its harrowing brutality. The misery of CTE is a profound and all-encompassing torment. It is a journey through darkness where every step is laden with pain, confusion, and despair. The victims of this brutal disease are not just fighters or athletes. They are fathers, mothers, sons, and daughters. They are human beings whose lives have been torn apart by a condition they did not choose. The Slap League, the ultimate insult. As if the Octagon's brutal battles weren't enough, Dana White has taken violence to a new low with the introduction of the Slap League. This sport involves participants taking turns delivering unprotected blows to each other's heads, a grotesque display that almost guarantees traumatic brain injury.
Perhaps the most absurd and senseless sport in the world is about to go mainstream with the announcement of the Dana White-backed Power Slap League. To get to the point, I don't think any commission should be backing slap fighting. I think it's one of the most just senseless, unnecessarily risky and dangerous sports. What do we always hear in combat sports? Whether it's boxing, mixed martial arts, or whatever, it's protect yourself at all times. In slap fighting, there is no defense. You literally are not allowed to protect yourself. And so what you get is basically just two people trading concussive blows for one another.
The Slap League epitomizes the reckless endangerment of athletes for entertainment and profit. Medical professionals have decried the Slap League as one of the worst contributors to CTE. The repetitive, unprotected head trauma inflicted in these events is a direct path to severe brain damage. This league is the ultimate embodiment of White's disregard for the well-being of those under his purview. By promoting such a barbaric form of entertainment, White has shown a willingness to sacrifice human lives and health on the altar of spectacle and financial gain. The human cost. Dana White's legacy as the king of CTEs can be seen in the broken bodies and shattered lives of the fighters who once made the UFC great. For every success story, there are countless tales of pain, suffering, and untimely death. His ruthless pursuit of profit has come at a tremendous cost, leaving a trail of broken fighters and shattered lives in its wake.
Sometimes he'll just forget he was supposed to pick me up.
Dad forgot a few things today.
I don't want my family and daughters feeling like they gotta look after me.
And what have your doctors told you about what you can expect in the future?
Exactly that. Things are gonna get worse. It doesn't get better. This is the best that you will be.
And I'm only gonna get worse. I just don't want anybody else to have to go through the same thing.
By the way, those guys are on their own. The UFC is not giving them a dime.
As the evidence of CTE mounts and the voices of affected fighters grow louder, the question remains, will Dana White and the UFC be held accountable for their actions, or will they continue to reign unchecked? It is imperative that we as a society recognize the true horror of CTE and extend our compassion and support to those who suffer from it. The callousness with which some view these individuals must be replaced with empathy and action. For every story of CTE is a plea for understanding, a cry for help, and a demand for justice. Let us not turn away from their suffering. Instead, let us stand with them, fight for better medical care, advocate for safer practices, and honor their struggle with the dignity and respect they deserve. The misery of CTE is a stark reminder of the fragility of the human condition and the urgent need for compassion in the face of such overwhelming pain. This documentary is a call to action. It is a demand for justice for the fighters who have given everything for their sport, only to be discarded and forgotten. It is a challenge to the MMA community to rise up and confront the uncomfortable truths that have been ignored for too long. And it is a plea for a future where the safety and well-being of fighters are prioritized over profit and spectacle. These fighters deserve more pay and better after-career healthcare. The time for change is now. The king must fall.
Don't believe I've ever brought him up to behave like that.